Time now for the press review with Deeptika Lohon. Good to see you, Deepti.
Hi, Delano.
You're starting out with this bill in the United States that's aimed at restricting gun possession, and it's gotten bipartisan support.
That's right. The initial bill that the Democrats wanted has been revised down, but its approval in its current state, according to the Washington Post, could amount to the most significant action in decades to overhaul U.S. gun laws. The Bipartisan Safer Communities Act would enhance background checks. It would give authorities up to 10 days to review the mental health records and juvenile records of gun purchases under 21, and also allow authorities to temporarily confiscate guns from people considered dangerous. Democrats and Republicans have agreed to this legislation, which is on track to be passed by the chamber by the end of the week, the Washington Post says.
One small
step
but
forward.
It's a step. Moving next to the United Kingdom, where obviously papers there are focused on those rail strikes that really paralyze the country.
That's right. Millions of passengers are facing days of mayhem after the rail workers walked off the job in what are Britain's biggest rail strikes in 30 years. There have been major disruptions to the rail services, massive chaos for ordinary British commuters, and it's this sort of juxtaposition between the rich bosses and the poor ordinary Brits. That's the focus of a lot of the British front pages. There you see that bird's eye view of all the front pages in the UK today talking about it. One particular paper, The Sun, calls it a class war, saying that teachers are now threatening to strike as well, while the Daily Mirror says it's time to level up, really scorning that gap between those rich rail bosses and poor workers, while the front page of Metro is quite telling as well. It's a picture of rush hour, completely deserted, as you can see there.
Shifting focus next here to France, Deepti, where the papers obviously are focusing on the president's attempts to avoid a hung parliament.
That's right. So far futile, it must be said. The stalemate in the French parliament right now continues to dominate the front pages. Emmanuel Macron met with opposition leaders yesterday in an attempt to break the deadlock as a result of Sunday's parliamentary election, which saw him, of course, lose his absolute majority. Le Figaro's editors saying today that Macron is really paying the price for his overconfidence. Will he find a way out of this cul-de-sac that for the moment won't allow him to pass through any reforms? Well, that's a big question. The only option, of course, if he doesn't get that coalition, is that he'll have to find support on a bill-by-bill process, which is a nightmarish situation. And you see there on the front page of L'Opinion, sort of echoing that, Emmanuel Macron there hacking off cube by cube on that Rubik's Cube there.
Staying in France next, and Miss France is getting an upgrade. Modern upgrade.
You might say it's about time, one might say. Miss France's the beauty pageant's organizers are now allowing mothers to partake in the competition. They've also lifted the age restriction, which it comes as a married dental assistant. Victoire Rousselot is competing in the Miss Alsace heat. She has a baby. Until now, the Times of London reports contestants had to be unmarried, never have given birth, and be no older than 24. So those restrictions have now been lifted. However, they still aren't allowed to put on weight during the competitions, and they must hide piercings and tattoos and that kind of thing. It's part of the sort of move to really upgrade the beauty pageant. Last year, they allowed transgender candidates for the first time. The pageant's often been criticized for being sexist and archaic. Last year was actually it was sued for allegedly breaching labor laws and discriminating over appearance. The new rules will be, of course, a welcome change.
Because I thought Miss France couldn't drink and smoke in public or something like that.
Well, I think there is that. They have to keep that sort of perfect image. But just know that the beauty pageant is actually watched by 7 million people, Delano.
Okay, so it's not going anywhere for now. Staying next with another story. In the Middle East for now, with the Football World Cup coming up, no one can have one-night stands?
Well, if you're unmarried and attending the World Cup in Qatar, then and hoping for a hookup, well, it's not going to happen.
Who's
Apparently,
checking?
Yeah, it's good to know before you go, right? Apparently, Qatar has very strict rules around, sex outside of marriage and homosexuality, both of which are punishable by 7 years in prison. Well, they're going to be reportedly enforcing those rules. This is according to a Qatari source who spoke to the British paper, The Daily Star. The source also saying that football fans will have to strictly adhere to the the country's cultural rules on casual sex, but also drinking, or risk fines and prison. So it doesn't sound like it's going to be much of a party in Qatar, for the moment at least.
We'll see how it pans out. Thank you very much for that, Deeptika Laurent there with the press review.